and welcome to episode 12 of Branchline, this beginner's model railway journey. I'm Stephen Power. I'm a professional photographer based in County Kerry in Ireland, and I've been talking about my first layout in this series of videos. All subscriptions and comments and likes are very welcome and gives me the incentive to keep going. In part 11, I talked about building a road in the central area of the layout, and in this part I'm looking at making a ploughed field for the farm area and laying down static grass for the card models from Metcalfe that I use for the farm buildings. I hope you find it interesting, and I'll see you at the end. For the ploughed area itself, I used the Busch, B-U-S-C-H, layout mat 7182 00 gauge ploughed field. I cut this out of a piece of the A4 corrugated card that it comes on, and then glued it down onto the layout, and then left some weights, in this case some acrylic paint pots, and glue overnight to make sure that it had sealed properly to the baseboard. I then mixed a small amount of brown acrylic paint into some wall filler and spread this into the areas around the ploughed field area. This is where the farm building is going to go, and also some rough ground on the other side. I made sure that some of the furrows in the ploughed field mat extended into the wall filler itself, and also made the top and bottom end particularly rough to show where a plough or a tractor might have moved. And so when I was sanding it down, I only sanded the top area where the building would go with any force really, and then just left a lot of rough areas. This was then hoovered up, or the dust from the sanding was hoovered with my mini vacuum cleaner. And then the whole area, including the mat, was painted with a mix of burnt umber and black acrylic paint. Unfortunately, I managed not to film what is probably the most interesting part and the bit that brings it to life, which was to add some ground scatter and then some 2mm grass over the ploughed field area and also around the edges. However, the process is very similar to the one used for the main farm area. Once the base area was painted, I then applied some quite thick PVA glue, over which I sprinkled Woodland Scenics Earth Blend ground scatter. And when that had dried, I used the War World Scenics static grass applicator to add some 2mm static grass. Once that dried, I then added some 6mm static grass in certain areas where I knew I would want to model a field that was slightly more overgrown. The path at the front of the main farm building was made simply by rubbing my thumb into the wet static grass and roughing it up a bit and gouging out a small path area. Overall, and given that this is my first attempt at any kind of layout modelling, I'm quite pleased with how it's gone so far. The ploughed field looks particularly good, and this is the view from behind the main farm building, and I've filled out the space with a silo trough and a hen house on the right hand side, and I'm planning to put some vehicles in the bottom right hand corner. I've ordered some rubberized horsehair and some scatter so that I can make hedging, and that will be the next job. So I feel quite happy with the way this has gone now so far. It still needs a fence and some other things doing to it, but you know, it's coming on. Please let me have your comments and your thoughts below, and as I said, all subscriptions are very welcome. And I'll see you in part 13.